After discussing the midterm, we're gonna get started for the final. So the following material will be covered in the final. First of all, Keynesian model. And in this case, in the midterm, we have t as a fixed number. But for the final, t will be equal to t times y. That is a proportional text. Okay? So this will be in the final. And probably maybe 5 or 6 questions. So I really urge you to review, okay, the notes that you have taken before the midterm. This will be in the final, and we will be about 5 or 6 questions. So very important. And then we're going to cover A-YDY model. AS, aggregate supply. AD, aggregate demand. And for business cycle, we discussed it a little bit before midterm, and now we're gonna get to the heart of it, okay? And in the book, it emphasizes the concept of real business cycle. It talks about the real impact on productivity rather than just money, okay? But, really there are a lot of factors that can affect business cycle. So it's not just what the book says. Actually, there are many factors will affect business cycle. We will discuss general outline of that. And the important thing is that money is neutral. Money is neutral. It means that money will not affect GDP, employment, interest rate, and labor supply, or more general labor market. It will not affect all these factors we call real factor: production, employment, interest rate, labor supply, labor demand, nothing on this. But Keynes has a different idea. He said, money has an impact on productivity, on the production, okay, all these things. So his idea is different from the others. For the neoclassical school, or we call, classical school, they believe that in the long run, okay, in the short run, money may have some impact, but in the long run, there's nothing there. Keynes cannot quite agree with that. And he said, in the long run, we are all dead. So it's kind of stubborn, okay? He insists that his idea is right. And, basically at this point, all economists believe that money in the short run will have some impact on some real variables. But in the long run, money is neutral. It only affects inflation rate. There is another concept called Phillips curve. We will also talk about it. This curve deals with unemployment, okay, unemployment and inflation. So there is an index called misery index. So how miserable you are, how much you suffer. And this is equal to inflation rate plus unemployment rate. So inflation is not necessarily a bad thing, but unemployment definitely is very bad for all of us. If you are unemployed, you are in trouble, you don't have income. But as in the question of the midterm, the first question said, Keynes believe deflation is worse than inflation, right? So inflation means goods becomes more expensive, okay? And so in this case, if inflation goes up, misery index goes up. But if you have deflation, it means inflation goes down. And according to the idea, here it also goes down. But this is not quite right, as we say, okay? If inflation goes down and it turns out you have deflation, if you have deflation, what does that mean? That means you suffer. So actually this one should go up, okay? So this misery index is not perfect. Okay, let me repeat this again. What's going on here? Inflation goes up, your misery goes up, right? But if inflation goes down, you have deflation. So inflation goes down. But what about your suffering? Your suffering goes up too, okay? And maybe even more, okay? So misery index is not a perfect index because if the price level is going down, probably you're going to suffer more, okay? Okay, then let's get to AS and AD, okay? So, what is aggregate supply, aggregate demand? The book, okay, the book has different elaboration, but let me tell you mine. And then when we get to the textbook, I'm going to show you how that works. Okay? So here you have production, GDP, okay? Income. And here you have price level, okay? And so Keynes' idea is about the economy is in a very bad situation, okay? And at that point, unemployment is really high. And so as long as there is a demand, people will be willing to offer it, to work, to provide any products, to provide any materials without increase in price level. So actually for the aggregate supply curve, there are three sections. The first section is here. It is flat, horizontal. What does that mean? That means price elasticity of supply is infinite. Okay, price elasticity of supply is infinite. Okay, so this is the first section. And then the second part is the normal one. Okay, so after this horizontal section, then this is a positive slope. What does that mean? That means if there is a demand increase, the price level will increase. And generally for a economy, okay, the production level is fixed at here we call YF, right? This is the concept we have. This is full employment production level, okay? So basically for whatever an economy can produce, it's like this. This is the limit, okay? You cannot produce any more beyond this point because at this point, it is already at full employment. So everyone, almost everyone is working. It is at natural rate of unemployment and all the resources are employed. So this is the limit. The economy cannot produce any more than this. So at this point, if there's further increase in demand, okay, what are you going to get? You're going to get increase in price level without increase in real production, okay? And Keynes' idea is that, okay, generally the economy is like this, okay? So if this is aggregate demand, aggregate demand 1, aggregate demand 2, aggregate demand 3, aggregate demand 4, okay? So if you have something like this, just like when the economy is at Great Recession, okay, or Great Depression, whatever it is, there is a lot of people, okay, there are a lot of people unemployed. And so if someone gonna spend more, consume more, invest more, what happened? The GDP will increase, but the price level will not be impacted, okay? But beyond this point, okay, beyond this point, if you're gonna have increase in demand, what you're gonna get? You're gonna get increase in price level. Generally, okay, this section, horizontal section, is not that easy to see. So when I'm going to explain what's going on in class, usually I will draw something like this rather than this horizontal section. I will forget about that. So let us say we are going to get a diagram of aggregate supply. Usually I'll put it down this way, okay? Because this horizontal section seldom exists. You seldom see such kind of situation that the economy is at a very high level of employment and then increase in aggregate demand will not increase in price level. Generally, that is not true. Usually it's like this and here, okay? So sometimes we call this is full employment production level, okay? But in the textbook, you will see two different kind of aggregate supply, okay? So Y and P. So he will say short run, okay? Short run aggregate supply. You will see in the textbook. We will, get to it on Wednesday. This will be short run aggregate supply, okay? So this is whatever you can produce in the short run. And this is long run, okay, aggregate supply. And this is exactly full employment level. But I think this kind of elaboration is a little bit strange. But many textbooks use this kind of model to explain it. But I prefer to have this one. This is better, okay? Okay, questions. So aggregate supply, it is different from what we usually have, right? So we usually have, this is quantity, right? This is the price, and this is supply, and this is demand, right? What does the supply represent? The supply represents marginal cost, okay? Here, to a certain extent, is like that, but we put one extra limit here. So the economy cannot produce more than what the resources you have. So at full employment, it already at the limit. Okay, so at this point, if you're still gonna increase demand, increase consumption, increase in government expenditure, increase in investment, what you get? You get only inflation and nothing else. The real production will be the same. Okay? So here we finished discussing aggregate supply, and then we need to go to aggregate demand. So what is aggregate demand? Okay. Aggregate demand looks like this. Okay. Why? Aggregate demand looks like this. Actually, you have to derive it. When we get to the textbook, I will show you how the textbook uses ISLM model to derive it. And then next year, we're going to discuss it again. But here, I'm going to use Keynesian model, okay, to derive aggregate demand curve. So, aggregate demand wants you to relate production and price level, okay? Production and price level. And Keynesian model is here, right? Keynesian model here is YS, and here is AE aggregate expenditure, or we call YD, okay? So Keynesian model tells you this is the 45-degree line, okay? And then you have two aggregate expenditure level. Say it's like this. AE is, okay, so what does this mean? This means that we have an aggregate expenditure level, but it is indexed with P1, okay? It's indexed with P1. P is price level, okay? Here you have YS, here you have AE or YD. So what does that mean? That means price is an exogenous variable, okay? Price is an exogenous variable. In Mandarin, it is called Y 生变数, okay? So let me explain a little bit here. So let us say this is a product, okay, whatever that is. So let us say it could be gold, right? Okay? Say it is gold. Okay? So this is supply, this is demand, okay? And so in this case, you have a gold market, okay? You have gold market. What happened recently? Last week, the Federal Reserve decreased the interest rate again, right? Interest rate goes down, okay? So because we are talking about a gold market, okay, it's a market about gold. Here, the endogenous, okay, so here, endogenous. The endogenous variable is Q and P, okay, Q and P. And so if price goes down, okay, if price goes down, you buy more, okay? If the price goes down, quantity demanded goes up, okay? And if price goes up, quantity demanded goes down. I'm talking about the characteristics of endogenous variable and exogenous variable. So this is Q, right? This is P. This is what you can see. And this is in the model. Okay, this is in the model. And then this is endogenous variable. Any changes of the endogenous variable, it moves along the curve. Okay? Any changes in endogenous variable, it moves along the curve. Okay? So price goes down, okay, quantity goes up because you want to buy more, okay, because it is cheaper now, okay? And on the other hand, it becomes more expensive than you buy less. Okay, what about R? Interest rate is an exogenous variable. It is not in this model, okay? Interest rate is not in this model. So, any variables outside this model, okay, not Q, not P, what happened? You have to show you by a shape of the curve, okay? So in this case, interest rate goes down, right? What happened? People would like to buy more, okay? Okay, generally, if you buy gold, that is not a good idea, right? Why? Because gold does not give you interest, okay? Gold does not give you interest. So because of that, okay, because of that, if interest rate goes down, okay, your opportunity cost to hold gold goes down, so you are willing to buy more. So if you look at the market recently, what happened? Interest rate goes down, people buy more gold. Demand goes up, okay? Demand goes up. Because this is an exogenous variable. Gosh. Okay.